Okay, so this right here is a 1990 Honda Accord, and it's been presenting with a really interesting issue, right? Now that issue is that when I turn the headlights on, none of the interior lights come on at all. At first I thought it might have been a blown fuse or a bad dimmer switch, right? So, there's a light switch right there, off, low beam, high, parking, low beam. You can see out there the headlights are on, but none of the internal lights are on at all. Well, you probably can't see that. Let me just... Here, none of the internal lights are on at all. So, what that leads me to suspect was either a fuse, all the light bulbs are bad, or an internal dimmer switch issue. So, I got the dimmer switch right here. There it is. And when I hook it up to here, there's no change in lights at all. So I went to a junkyard, I got another dimmer switch. And still, no change. No lights at all, right? So that got me curious to look at the wiring of this switch. Now the last owner had hooked up these two wires. I'm not completely sure what they're for, but they're here. And I was looking up on a Honda forum. What can happen sometimes is if you incorrectly install a aftermarket radio, it can cause a short in one of the computers. Now, this was in a later model Honda. I'm not too sure if that would affect this particular generation, but I want to try that anyway. So, these lights have been jumped right here. I'm going to strip them real quick, connect them together. If there's sparks, I know I did something wrong, but if there's lights, then there's lights. So, let's get the wire stripper and try it out. Okay, let's do it. Let's see. They're together and nope, no difference at all. Still no internal lights. So it's gotta be something else then. Probably a blown fuse somewhere. I'm gonna check the fuse box and see what's up.
Okay, so the last owner of this car ended up doing a lot of really sketchy wiring stuff. If you watch the video of how I actually stick about my gauge cluster and how I installed the radio, you'll see that I had to undo a lot of really weird things. So my initial thought was that the reason the dash lights don't work is because of the wiring stuff he was doing. So now, since I didn't fully reinstall the dashboard, I decided to take that out and check all the wires. I went through everything, found quite a few shorts, and fixed them. And I thought the shorts in the system would have caused that computer to go out. Turns out this car doesn't really have a computer for that kind of stuff, so you'll see what happened. It was pretty simple. I'm actually fairly happy that it wasn't something more complicated.
Okay, so I went under the hood of the car and I found what looks to be a blown out, or at least not completely intact 20 amp fuse. And it goes right there, right in between that 10 and that 20. Problem is, I have no idea what that is. I can't figure out the correct orientation for this, so let's see, because there's no 7.5 amp fuse anywhere, so I can't use that to get my bearings. Are these spares or what? Nope, they're being used for sure. So I'm gonna see if I have another 20 amp fuse somewhere and pop that in there. See if that's causing the issue. Okay, so I found a fuse diagram online, and the one that's missing right over there below that 10 amp fuse is supposed to be a 15 amp fuse, and the one that's in between the two 20s is not used. So I'm gonna stick a 15 amp fuse in there, turn the key on, see if the lights turn on, or see if it pops. Okay, lights are back in. Here's a moment of truth. Actually, yeah, lights are coming on right here. Yep, there it is, just a simple fuse. Wow. See if this little dimmer switch light works. So it appears the dimmer switch doesn't really serve any function actually. I would call that a win. Still gotta figure out why the starter's not going.